As MAC team, we were involved in a project named WikiSkills, the project which was earlier than the WIKINOMICS ones. And the results of this former project achieved very interesting results about skills of what is needed for professionals in the 21st century, and mainly on the way of working, collaborating, and working with different persons at the same time. And but the weakness of this former project was really the results, which was very theoretical and not very practical for trainers and education centers. When we were requested to participate to a new one named WIKINOMICS, for the WIKINOMICS, the approach was more practical and really users-oriented. And we were very proud to go on that way because the frustration we had with the earlier one pushed them to have really strong investment with stakeholders to achieve very efficient and practical results. That was quite efficient in the collaboration too between the partners, because we have all together also to improve our knowledge and competencies on the WIKINOMICS topics, because we are not all very efficient on this way of working. We have a theory, but to do it in practice using wikis and that kind of material was also very interesting for the partners at the European level. And that gave us the results and the efficiency to deliver by ourselves in the second part of the project, very concrete pilot project in many areas. On our position in France and Belgium, we try to convince, and we succeed to convince, universities and professionals to change the rules for some key trainings to use that material. That example was very interesting. It was based on the entrepreneurship and innovation topics. We really decided not to make a course specifically on WIKINOMICS issues and material, but to use these results and this material to improve and to change the way of educating and training on very current topics like entrepreneurship. It was quite difficult at the beginning to convince the traditional trainers to change the rules, but we succeed to have a really interesting pilots with PhD and postdocs, persons who are very aware about general many things, issues on entrepreneurship and innovation, but have to work really practically on workshop to design and to be real entrepreneur in practice, really in practice, not in theory, but to act as an entrepreneur within the workshop. So we use the WIKINOMICS materials, the WIKINOMICS methodologies to change the rules. It was really disturbing for the students and the participants at the beginning, really. But at the end, the feedback and what we could say, the changing rules and the changing behavior the students and participants in the workshops have lived at that time achieved a very positive feedback. Their feeling about that was so great that they all say that they were really in situation to put them in practice, to put them in the middle of the learning process, because they had to act and they had to interact with the others, and they discovered by themselves that they have other quality skills that they have learned during their training periods. It was really, for us, it was really more positive as we were expecting at the beginning, because we really think that it was so disturbing for the learners that some of them would have a positive vision and some others not. But more than 70% of the participants was very satisfied about the approach and the fact that they are more active in the training process, and they also discovered themselves about how they can collaborate and what is the good added value of collaboration. in the learning process. So that at the end, we really decided also on our side as a MAC organization to introduce that way of working in all the learning process we implement. And after the end of the project last year, we already used that material also in other trainings we have for example, for mentors, for whatever the person have, and mainly when the strong part of the training is built on experiences, work-based learning, and based on sharing experiences. First, the participant of this WIKINOMICS project was so successful because it's not always the time to have so efficient and practical results to be implemented directly in the training process, in the vocational training process. That we now are very aware to be involved in future part like that, because it is a very first step, and we still have to convince a lot of people in the education and in the training approach that it would be very interesting to implement that, to implement more generally in the learning, more generally in the learning process, and more generally in all the vocational training process. Because for also not only young people, but people around 40, 50, it's very mandatory to involve them in this way of learning now, because also their experience based on their years of working on the field can be shared with youngest, with also other kind of person who have not the same level of experience on this topic. So it's really a sharing generation process also that could be developed through that, by the technology, through the technology, and by the sharing experience. I said that it is in the education part and in the vocational education part, but also practically in any enterprises at the moment. It could be used not only for training, but also for collaborating. And we're looking for the moment to next projects also to be developed for the implementation of this wiki approach. This wiki approach globally in the organizations, because whatever the organization are, they have to improve their way of working and to improve their way of sharing experiences and knowledges. And the WIKINOMICS material, the WIKINOMICS approach, it's really a key base for that, to help the organization to move on in this new way of working and in this new process of training. So it's really quite general, the conclusion we may say regarding the WIKINOMICS. We were expected to have learning material, and this learning material first based on learning about the technology of the wiki. But we also discovered that it is a key tool, not only a tool for himself, but a tool which could be used in many areas to improve and to develop collaborative system, to develop collaborative approach, to develop collaborative way of working, whatever the experience of the people are, whatever their age is, and whatever their profession is also. So it is a key base to open it now, not only to have it in the education area, but also to develop it through the different process in many kind of organization, private industry, public organization, associations, whatever the kind of organization that they are, and whatever the kind of person have to participate inside the company, but also in the collaboration with external partners. We have the experience now that it could be also very interesting to collaborate with that. We have the experience of all the social networks on our private position. The WIKINOMICS position, the WIKINOMICS material can be used also on that way, in the professional area, to help people to be more collaborative and to be more interactive in the collaborating process and collaborative design in the organizations. Thank you.